NCRT 6th class, chapter 2, From Hunting, Gathering to Growing Food. Tushar train journey. Tushar was going from Delhi to Chennai for his cousin's wedding. They were traveling by train and he had managed squeezed into window seat. His nose glued to the class plan as he watched trees and houses fly past. His uncle tapped his shoulder and said, "Do you know that trains were first used about 150 years ago, and that people began using buses a few decades later?" Tushar wondered when people could not travel quickly from one place to another. Did they spend their entire lives wherever they were born? Not quite. The earliest people, why were they on the move? We know about people who lived in the subcontinent as early as 2 million years ago. Today we describe them as hunter gatherers. The name comes from the way in which they got their food. Generally, they hunted wild animals, caught fish and birds, gathered fruit, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalk, and eggs. Hunter gatherers moved from place to place. There are many reasons for this. First, if had stayed at one place for a long time, they would have eaten up all the available plant and animal resources. Therefore, they would have had go elsewhere in search of food. Second, animals move from place to place either in search of smaller prey or, in the case of deer, wild cattle, in search grass and leaves. That is why those who hunted them had to follow their movements. Third, plants and trees bear fruit in different seasons, so people may have moved from season to season in search of different kind of plants. Further, people, plants, animals need water to survive. Water is found in lakes, streams, and rivers. While many rivers and lakes are paved with water throughout the year, others were seasonal. People living on their banks would have had go in search of water during the dry season, winter and summer. How do we know about these people? Archaeologists have found some of things hunters gathered, made, and used. It is likely that people made and used tools of stone, wood, and bones, of which stone tools have survived best. Some of these stone tools were used to cut meat and bone, scraps bark from trees, and hind animal skins, chop fruit and roots. Some may have been attached to handle of bone or wood to make spear and arrows for hunting. Other tools were used to chop wood, which was used as firewood. Wood was also used to make huts and tools. Choosing a place to live. Look at the map too below. All the places marked with red triangles are sites from which archaeologists have found evidence of hunter gathered. Hunter gatherer lived in many more places, only some are shown on the map. Many cities were located near sources of water such as a river and lakes. Burjhom, Mehrgarh, Barhom, Chindwara, and Dajnam. As stone tools were important, people tried to find places where good quality were stone was easily available. Rock painting and what they tell us. Many of the caves in which these early people lived have paintings on the wall. Some of the best examples are from Madhya Pradesh and southern Uttar Pradesh. These paintings show wild animals drawn with great accuracy and skills. Sites are places where the remains of things, tools, pots, buildings, etc., were found. These were made, used, and left behind by people. These may be found on the surface of the earth, buried under the earth, sometimes even underwater. You will be learn more about different cities in later chapter. Finding about fire. Fire the Kurnool Caves map too. Trace ash have been found here there. This suggests that people were familiar with use of fire. Fire could have been used for many things as a source of light to roast meat and those scare away animals. Name and dates. Archaeologists have given lengthy name for the time that we are studying. They call the earliest period the Paleolithic. This comes from two Greek words, paleo meaning to old and litho means stone. The name of point of the importance of find of stone tools. The Paleolithic period extends from 2 million years ago to about 400 years ago. This long stretch of time is divided into the lower, Middle and Upper Paleolithic. This long span time covers 99% of human history. The period when we find environmental changes beginning about 12 years ago till about 10,000 years ago is called Mesolithic, Middle Stone. Stone tools found during this period are generally tiny and are called a microlith. Microliths were probably stuck on the handles of bones of wood to make tools such as a saw and sickle. At the same time, older varieties tools continue to be in use. The next stage from after 10,000 years ago is known as a Neolithic. What do you think to term Neolithic means? We have also mentioned the name of some place. You will find the names of many more places. In later chapter, very often we use present day names of place where people lived in the past because we do not know what they are called them. Changing environment. Around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world, with a shift to relatively warm conditions in many areas. This led to the development of grassland. This in turn led to an increase in the number of deer, antelopes, goat, sheep, and cattle, animals that survived on grass. Those who hunted these animals now followed them, learning about their food habit and their breeding season. It is likely that is this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing these animals themselves. Fishing also became important. The beginning of farming and herding. This was also a time when several grain bearing grass, including wheat, barley, and rice, grew naturally in different parts of the subcontinent. Men and women, children probably collect these grains as a food and learned where they grow and when they repeated. This way may have led them to think about growing plant on their own. In this way, people become farmer. People could also attract and then tame animal by leaving food for them near these shelters. The first animal to be tamed was the wild ancestor, the dog. Later, people encouraged animals that were relatively gentle to come near the camps where they lived. These animals, such as the sheep, goat, cattle, and also the pig, lived in herd. The most of them ate grass. Often, people protected these animals from attacked by the other wild animal. This is how they become harder. Can you think of any reasons why the dog was perhaps the first animal to be tamed? Domestication is the name given to the process in which people grow, plant, and look after animals. Very often, plant animals that are tended by the people becomes different from wild plant and animal. This because people select plant animal for domestication. For example, they select those plant animal that are not prone disease. They Also select plants that yield large-sized grains, have strong stalks capable of bearing the weight of the ripe grain. Seed from selected plant are preserved and shown to ensure that new plant and seed will have the same qualities. Amongst animals, those are the related gentle are selected for breeding. As a result, gradually domesticated animals and plants become different and from wild animals and plant. For example, the teeth and horn of wild animals are usually much larger than those of domesticated animals. Look at these the two set of teeth. Which do you think that belong to the wild pig? Which to be domesticated one? Domestication was a gradual process that took place in many parts of the world. It began about 1200 years ago. Virtually all the plants and animal produce that we use as food today is a result of domestication. Some of the earliest plants to be domesticated were wheat and barley. The earliest domesticated animal include sheep and goat. A new way of life. If you plant a seed, you will be notice that it takes some time to grow. This may be for several days, weeks, months, and in the some cases years. When people begin growing plant, it means that they had to stay in the same place for a long time, looking after the plant, watering, weeding, driving away animal and birds, till the grain dripped, and then the grain had to be used carefully. As the grain had to be stored for the both food and seed, people had to think ways of storing in many areas. They began making large clay pot or wove basket dug pits into the ground. Do you think hunter-gatherer would have made used pot? Give reason for your answer. Rearing animal multiple naturally, beside if they were looked after carefully. They provide milk, which is an important source of food and meat wherever required. In other words, animals that are reared can be used as a store of food. Apart from food, what are the other things that could have been obtained from animal? What are the animals used for today? Find out about the first farmer's herder. You will be notice a number of blue square. Each marks a site from where archaeologists have found evidence of early farmers and herders. These are found all over the subcontinent. Some of the most important ones are in northwest in present-day Kashmir and the east and south India. To find out whether these sites were settlement of farmer and herder, scientists study evidence of plant animals bones. One of the most exciting finds include remains of burnt grain. These may have been the burnt accidentally or on the purpose. Scientists can identify these grains, and so we know that a number of crops were grown in different parts of the subcontinent. They can also identify bones of different animals towards settle a life. Archaeologists have found traces of huts or houses of some sites. For instance, in Bolsham, in present-day Kashmir, people built pit houses, which is were dug into the ground with a step leading into them. These may have provided shelter in cold weather. Archaeologists have also found a cooking hardened pot inside and outside the hearth, which suggests that depending on the weather, pupils could cook and food either indoor or outdoor. Stone tools have been found from many sites as well. Many of these are different from the earliest Paleolithic tool, and that is why they are called Neolithic. These include tools that were polished to give a fine cutting edge, mortars and pestles used for grinding grains other plant produce. Mortar and pestles are used for grinding grains even today. Several thousand years later, at the same time, tools of Paleolithic type continue to made and used, and remembered some tools were also made of bone. Many kinds of earthen pot have also been found. These were sometimes decorated and and were used for storing things. People began using pot for cooking food, especially grains like rice, wheat, lentils, and that now became an important part of diet. Besides they began weaving cloth using different kind of material, for example cotton that could now for grown. Did things change everywhere and all at once? Not quite. In many areas men and women still continue to hunt and gather food. Elsewhere people adopted farmer herding slowly over several thousand of years. Besides, in some cases people tried to combine these activities, doing different things during different seasons. A closer find Mehrgarh. This site is located in fertile plain near the Bolan Pass, which is one of the most important route into Iran. Mehrgarh was probably one of the places where people learned to grow barley and wheat and rear ships and goat for the first time in this area. It is one of the earliest villages that we know about. At the site, many animals' bones were found. Bones of wild animals such as the deer and pig, and also bones of sheep and goat were found. Other finds at Mehrgarh include remains of those of rectangular house, each house and four more compartments, some of which may have been used for storage. When people die, their relatives and friends generally pay respect for them. People look after them, perhaps in the belief that there is some for the life after that. Burial is one of such arrangement. Several burial sites have been found in Mehrgarh. In one instance, the dead person was buried with the goats, which were probably meant to serve as a food in the next world. Thank you for watching.